Welcome to Ancient Wisdom for Modern Work. In the hustle of profit, product, and productivity, it's easy to neglect the how, our ethics, our conduct, and our internal state of being. But what if the secret to sustainable success wasn't found in the latest management trend, but in wisdom that's existed for thousands of years? The host of this podcast, Kimberly Killer, is here to explore the ancient concepts of Yamas and Niyamas as a powerful framework for modern leadership. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, and welcome to Ancient Wisdom for Modern Work, a podcast designed to help you apply proven lessons from the yogi masters of yesteryear to the work we do today. I'm your host and guide, Kimberly Kaler, and it's my great pleasure to share my insight on how to meld mindfulness into our work world, however you define work, as a teacher, a corporate executive, or a community volunteer. Today's topic is innovation through ancient wisdom. Adapting with the Yamas and Niyamas. The pressure to innovate is constant. Leaders are told they must disrupt or be disrupted, pivot or perish. This creates a frantic energy in many organizations, a desperate scramble for the next big thing that often leads to burnout rather than breakthrough. We assume that innovation requires chaos, speed, and a ruthless discarding of the past. But what if sustainable innovation requires the exact opposite? What if true adaptability comes in the foundation of stability and ethical clarity? The ancient yogic framework of the yamas, otherwise referred to as social ethics, and niyamas, which are our personal disciplines, offers a surprising pathway to innovation. These principles are not just about moral conduct. They're about clearing the mental and emotional clutter that stifles creativity. When applied to leadership, they create an environment where the mind is free to explore, where failure is a teacher, and where adaptability is a natural response to change rather than a panicked reaction. Here is how leaders can use these timeless tenets to navigate uncertainty and foster genuine innovation. The yamas, creating safe space for ideas. Innovation is a vulnerable act. It involves challenging the status quo and suggesting things that might not work. For this to happen, the social environment must be safe. The yamas provide the architecture for such safety. Ahimsa, our first yama, nonviolence, killing the fear of failure. In many boardrooms, violence looks like the immediate shooting down of new ideas. It is the cynical eye roll, the sharp critique before a concept is fully formed, or the penalizing of well-intentioned failure. When fear rules, innovation dies. People will not take risks if they know they will be punished for stumbling. Applying ahimsa for innovation. Cultivate an intellectual voice of nonviolence. This means separating the person from the idea and the idea from immediate judgment. When a team member proposes something radical, pause the instinct to critique. Instead, ask, what conditions would make this true? Or what part of this idea solves a problem we haven't yet seen? By protecting the seed of an idea before it has roots, you allow innovation to breathe. Our second yama is satya, truthfulness, the reality check. Adaptability requires a clear view of reality. We cannot adapt to a changing market if we're lying to ourselves about our position in it. Satya demands that we look at the data without flinching, even when it tells us our flagship product is becoming obsolete. Applying Satya for innovation. Normalize the pre-mortem. Before launching a project, ask the team to imagine it has failed and truthfully discuss why. This practice strips away the optimism bias and allows for an honest assessment of risks. Furthermore, reward the messengers of hard truths. The employee who points out a flaw in the plan isn't being negative. They're practicing satya, saving the organization from costly delusions. Our third yama is asteya, non-stealing, honoring the source. Innovation is rarely a solo endeavor. It is a remix of existing ideas. Asteya, non-stealing, reminds us to honor the lineage of ideas. It also warns against stealing the future to pay for the present, what we might call technical debt, or unsustainable scaling. Applying Asteya for innovation. Foster a culture of attribution. When an idea evolves, trace its path. This concept started with Sarah's comment about customer service, which Tom expanded into this feature. Give credit where credit is due. This encourages collaboration because people know their contributions will be recognized. Additionally, practice non-stealing of the future by asking, does this short-term fix rob us of long-term stability? True innovation solves problems without creating new ones down the road. The Niyamas, disciplines of the creative mind. While the Yamas set the stage, the Niyamas prepare the actor. Innovation requires a mind that is disciplined, content, and willing to surrender control. Satya, purity, decluttering for clarity. It is hard to innovate when you are drowning in operational sludge. Satya refers to cleanliness or purity. In a business context, this means simplifying processes so that mental energy can be directed toward creativity rather than bureaucracy. So how do we apply Satya for innovation? Conduct a friction audit. Where are your team's creative energies getting stuck? Is it an outdated approval process, a messy digital file system, a calendar packed with non-essential meetings? By relentlessly cleaning up the operational environment, you create the white space necessary for new connections to form. Clarity of process leads to clarity of thought. Santosha, contentment, innovating from abundance. There is a misconception that innovation must be driven by dissatisfaction, that we must hate the current state to build a better one. But anxiety-driven innovation is often frantic and short-sighted. Santosha, a place of contentment, suggests we can appreciate what we have while striving for better. So how do we apply Santosha for innovation? Frame innovation as an act of a play, not desperation. When a team feels secure and content with their foundational value, they're more willing to experiment. Start brainstorming sessions by acknowledging what is already working well. This grounds the team in confidence, allowing them to stretch into the unknown from a place of strength rather than fear. Tapas, discipline, the grit of iteration. The eureka moment is a myth. Real innovation is a grind. It is the result of testing, failing, tweaking, and testing again. This is tapas, the heat of discipline. It is the willingness to stay with the problem when it becomes difficult or boring. So how do we apply tapas for innovation? Begin by celebrating the pivot. When a prototype fails, praise the discipline it took to build and test it. Encourage the heat of constructive conflict. Debate is uncomfortable, but that friction, that tapas, is often what polishes a rough stone into a gem. A leader practicing tapas models resilience, showing that setbacks are just data points on the road to a solution. And then finally, Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender, embracing uncertainty. This is perhaps the most critical principle for adaptability. We cannot control the market or the economy. We cannot predict the next global crisis. Leaders who try to control every variable outcome become rigid and brittle. We need to actually surrender to the flow of events. So how do we apply such a letting go? Move from the predict and control stage to sense and respond. Instead of building 5-year plans that are set in stone, build agile systems that can react to real-time feedback. When the market shifts unexpectedly, a leader practicing surrender doesn't waste energy fighting the reality. This shouldn't be happening. They accept the new reality immediately. This is happening. How do we move with it? This lack of resistance is the essence of adaptability. So how do we sum up being an innovative leader? Integrating these principles shifts the role of the leader. You're no longer the chief answer officer, expected to always have brilliant ideas. Instead, you become the architect of an environment where brilliance can emerge. You use ahimsa to make it safe to fail. You use satya to ensure you're solving real problems. You use satya to clear the path of obstacles. You use tapas to keep the team moving through the messy middle. And finally, You cultivate a sense of surrender to remain calm when the world turns upside down. Innovation is not a lightning strike, it is a practice. By adopting the Yamas and Niyamas, we move away from the exhausting cycle of forced disruption toward a sustainable, organic form of evolution. We build organizations that are not just surviving the changes of the world, but are actively learning, growing, and dancing with them.
Thank you so much for listening to Ancient Wisdom for Modern Work, a podcast designed to meld mindfulness into the work we do. We invite you to subscribe as well as visit wisdomfortheworkwedo.com for additional resources. Until next time, we invite you to consider how you can apply the wisdom yogi masters of yesteryear to the work we do today, with integrity, clarity, and compassion.